ought to be in pictures. You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in
So, James, it's 2025. It is the Christmas season once again, and that means we are at our year-end review, our top 10 films of the year. Now, this isn't necessarily what we think are the best films, but the ones that you liked the most.
Oh,
and
sure.
So, yeah. So
hugely subjective. These are my favorites.
Yeah, these are going to be, some of them are going to raise eyebrows on people, but this is what impacted me this year.
Definitely. And we were just talking before we started that already, I'm still like tinkering with it and just like shuffling things.
That's why I'm not looking. I've already said it. I'm sure it'll change tomorrow, but for the sake of this, I feel pretty good.
That's great. I mean, I think it's got to the point now where, because I see quite a lot of stuff, almost dare I say, sort of everything that I should see, if you know what I mean, everything that sort of should be in contention. When it comes to the actual top 10 itself, I'm not too bothered about the actual order of the 10 itself.
Yeah.
It's like they're all great. By the time we get to this point, it's like they're all great. It's more about what sneaks in, what gets pushed out of the 10. What am I not going to talk about today? And
right.
And as is almost true every year, I look at my current 11 to 20, and they're great movies. If that was my top 10, I'd be like, yeah, pretty good year.
Yeah,
so,
I did my letterbox. I've got a top 15, and I had to, shave 5 of these off for this list. Yeah. And easily any one of these 5 could have been in the top 10.
Which is great, which is a good sign. It means there's a ton of movies. Let's not do honorable mentions just yet, because it might betray what has made the cut and what hasn't.
No, absolutely not.
But I think you were going to start, weren't you?
Yeah, my number 10 is Nuremberg, the Russell Crowe film about the Nuremberg war crimes trials. I think we recently reviewed this film, and so it's really at the forefront of my mind. Like I said in the review, it just seeing so much of what happened in 1946, 1947 after World War II and fascism and authoritarianism, and seeing the same arguments that Hermann Göring is making, I'm seeing being made in the world around me today. Muddying the waters, justifying the unjustifiable, defending the indefensible. The acting was outstanding. Russell Crowe really nails it as Hermann Göring. I think, as I mentioned in the original review, I think having him, though, such a larger-than-life character himself, playing a larger-than-life character, probably meant it didn't score higher on this list than I would have imagined it, but it definitely makes my top 10 for 2025.
Excellent. It's not in my top 10. It was a movie, as I said in our longer video, that turned out better than I was expecting it to. You get a lot of that kind of movie where you have like big Hollywood stars playing sort of, foreign famous people from history, and it can go horribly wrong very, very easily and frequently does. Yeah. So this was great to see them actually do a pretty good job, and I quite liked how they were able to align it with contemporary issues, contemporary politics, in a way that didn't feel contrived and ham-fisted, and also get a few good men moments in there towards the end as well.
How many films can you watch the Pope get blackmailed? I mean, it's worth it just for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, rock solid movie for sure. Okay, my number 10 is Korea's Oscar entry for this year. It is Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. Mm-hmm. Huge fan of Park Chan-wook, have been for a long, long time. Responsible for like the Sympathy for Vengeance and Old Boy and Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, and we've watched Decision to Leave and reviewed that on this channel. Yeah. So this was very exciting. It's an adaptation of an American novel by Donald Westlake, but full transparency, it was adapted by Park with a good friend of ours, Lee Kyung-mi, who is wife of Pierce Conran, who's a great mate of mine, has been on this show, and you've had the questionable pleasure of his company a few times as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I will slip in now. This is one of my honorable mentions. It is in my top 15.
Fabulous.
I couldn't put it in the top 10 just for me personally, but it definitely makes my top 15 of the year.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, Lee Byung-hun doing comedy, which is kind of rare. And, it's a dark comedy and it's about a man being pushed to the edge and what he's willing to do in order to support his family. But it really goes into those dark corners with a kind of sly sort of, I wouldn't quite say it's tongue in its cheek, but with a sly sort of upturned corner of its mouth. It knows how to plumb those depths for humor and does a great job. And actually has a lot of very interesting and timely things to say about society and the intrusion of AI and robotics and what have you into all areas of our future. So it is something of a cautionary tale as well. It's great. I think it's just having its proper US release like from Christmas Day. So it's really being positioned well as an awards contender. So
good luck.
Good luck. Good luck to all involved. And that's my number 10.
Excellent. I'm glad it was on your top 10. My number 9, and I chose this number 9 because I watched this earlier in the year, and I remember telling myself, do not let this slip out of the top 10. You're going to be tempted because it's earlier in the year to give credence to those late year entries. My number 9 is Zach Creg's Weapons, which I thought was one of the best horror films I've seen in a long time. And things are out of time, so you're seeing things before, and then you realize something's coming because there's already been an effect to a cause you haven't seen yet. I just thought it was brilliant. The acting was fantastic, and again, I enjoyed this film so much. I made that mental note. Make sure this is in your top 10 because it deserves it.
Well, I'm so glad that you did because I'm staring right at it, but it's in my 11 to 15. It's one of those ones that was really, really high up. I think actually the moment I saw it, I might have even sort of put it at number 1 or number 2 or something like that. You know, there were very few movies in the first half of the year that really landed as strongly as that one did. Unfortunately, it did just get muscled out, and I'm not happy about it. So I'm very glad that we have the opportunity to talk about it because I really did think it was great. I saw Zach Creg's previous movie Barbarian and was very excited about what he was going to be doing. And like you say, this is almost, it's not exactly that Rashomon thing where it's like different people's opinion, different people's memory and perspectives on the same incident. It's just a whole sort of a chronicled sort of a mystery, if you like, but just told in different chapters, like you say, out of order, something that Tarantino has made sort of more, has normalized in a lot of his movies. But I just liked what it alluded to. I mean, when it opens, I was kind of thinking, oh, they're using a horror movie to sort of examine the impact of like a school shooting or something. You know, how does a community deal with suddenly an entire block of children being like wiped out from their community? And then it goes into other areas and explores myriad other possibilities as well. And then turns out that that's on the surface that's not what it's about, and that's just more and more of what I liked about it. I'm trying to remember, did we do a video on this one or not?
We did. And we really divided it between the first half being a psychological thriller and the second half being horror. Because here in Hong Kong, it's a category 3, which is kind of like the equivalent of R in the States, where you can't bring somebody in who's under 18 without a parent. Can you bring somebody in if they're under 18?
Category 3 is 18 and above.
18, that's right. You can't even with a parent. And so the first half of the movie, Tammy whispers in my ear. I remember saying, why is this a category 3? I mean, it's suspenseful, but surely it's not. And then the second half of the movie, she's like, oh, that's why it's category 3.
Yes, exactly.
It went from psychological thriller to horror.
Right, and I think it does seem to be this year's, or one of this year's sort of genre movies that seems to be in the awards conversation. I think Amy Madigan, for her portrayal, has a real opportunity to get nominated in Best Supporting Actress, and I think there's a lot of sort of grassroots love for her because it's a wild turn, and I'll say no more than that.
Yes. No, Amy Madigan, wonderful character actor for, 30, 40 years. I didn't even recognize her at first. It was Tammy whispered in my ear. She goes, that's the girl from Field of Dreams. I was like, oh my God. Yes, it's Amy Madigan. So that's my number 9. James, your number 9?
My number 9 is Catherine Bigelow's A House of Dynamite.
Okay, did make your list. Okay.
It did. It did. It's I saw it at Busan. I was fortunate to see it on the big screen with an audience because it is a Netflix movie. But so Busan has quite a good relationship with Netflix, and they do tend to premiere a few of these like that. And I do try and see them all because I know that it's going to be the only chance to see it on a big screen. And I didn't know anything about what it was about, actually. I knew it was a political thriller directed by Catherine Bigelow. And I was like, well, I love Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah.
You know, Point Break, Zero Dark 30,
Hurt Locker.
Hurt Locker. You know, the fact that her Oscar-winning movie is like third on my mental list of like her best movies. I think she's fantastic, and she makes really kind of robust, macho, movies, but that are actually about something. And so I just went into this going, I don't know what it's about, and this is one of those almost similar, or not wholly dissimilar structures to Weapons, where this does tell the same incident but from three different points of view. So it is a bit more like a Rashomon kind of thing. But it's funny because they establish the timeline very quickly, and there's a kind of clock on the action, and it's like 20 odd minutes, and it's like, what would happen if the US was fired upon by a nuclear weapon? You know, what is the response? What are the steps? You know, which I don't think enough films have the time or even the interest to go through in such detail. Yeah. But also, just from a moral, ethical point of view, you know, what are your options? What can you do? What can't you do? And it looks at that from a number of different times. And I realized very quickly, they're going to run out of time before this movie's over. Yeah. You know, what are they going to do here? And it hits like 40 minutes and then it goes back and does it again. I thought it worked really, really well. I've seen some people criticize it for not having an ending. I think that's the whole point. I think it has to end the way it does. But anyway, I think we've covered all of this. Suffice to say that I came away from Busan going, okay, there are two movies which I think are like the best movies I saw at that festival. And I'll be very surprised if they're not in my top 10 by the end of the year. Fortunately, they are both still in my top 10. And House of Dynamite is my number 9. I just thought it was, and I've been meaning to rewatch it, but I just haven't got around to it yet. But it's a really tense, gripping political thriller, particularly in these trying times when a lot of that infrastructure and chain of command does not exist anymore. It's been stripped away.
No, I enjoyed it as well. It didn't make my top list, but probably if I did a top 20, it'd be in there. My number 8 is Superman. I just loved the new Superman. What can I think of the director? Thanks you, James Gunn. James Cameron was just, it's not James Cameron, it's Avatar. James Gunn, I think he just really did well in a very difficult task. You know, navigating Superman, the traditional Donner version that we got through went through Bryan Singer to Superman Returns. And then the other thread, the Zack Snyder Superman, almost conflicting narratives of what Superman should be. And for someone who really pines for the Donner version, the Christopher Reeve version, the Brandon Routh version, not hugely a big fan of the Zack Snyder, I really loved what James Gunn did. It didn't necessarily hit every point that I thought it needed to hit or do exactly what I wanted to do. And the fact that he made Jor-El quite likely a bad guy still is, for me, an unforgivable sin. But having said that, this was an immensely wonderful, fun film to watch. I've probably seen it at least 3 times, twice on the big screen. In fact, even my walk across England this summer, we paused, father and son, to watch Superman in a little theater in Richmond, England. So my number 8 is James Gunn's Superman.
That's fantastic. It's in kind of like my top 20. And I would say as soon as I had seen it, it was in my top 10, and then it just got kind of pushed out. And I'll confess, I do tend to be a little snobby when it comes to kind of sort of superhero blockbuster movies. You know, they rarely end up in like my top 10. But yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was a really fascinating kind of course correction for the character. It felt like the most kind of comic booky Superman movie I had seen, if that makes sense. Because I read DC comics, but I read Batman comics, and then whenever Superman shows up in those, I had never really seen the way that the comics deal with the characters in the movies. Most of the time that the movies focus on just like, whether it's Superman movies or Batman movies or whatever, focus on one character.
Yeah.
And they just follow them. Whereas when you read the comics, other characters are coming in all the time, and the tone shifts from like 1 minute it's being funny, the next minute it's being very serious, it's being philosophical, or it's just doing the action or whatever. And all in the space of like sort of 24 pages or something like that. And I'd never really seen that in a movie. And you could tell from the get-go that James Gunn was very eager to reinstate like a sense of fun in the character, but also amplify the sort of sense of hope and the purity of him, but also not be afraid to cast the net wide and include the rest of the super family, are they called? Yeah. And also just other random superhero characters that didn't even really need to be introduced. They're just pulled in, like Hawk Girl and
Nathan Fillion with the little Dutch boy haircut.
Exactly that. It's like as a Green Lantern, but one that Friday night moviegoers won't be familiar with. But that right. That kind of thing. And I just thought that he really kind of captured that tone and that sort of sensibility in a way I'd not seen before. Certainly not in a Superman movie.
I always find Superman the most compelling superhero character to watch. Whenever somebody tells me Superman's boring, I just don't get it, because to me the moral quandaries that you have when you can do anything you want and yet you choose. It was interesting listening to the psychologist on TV the other day, Scott Galloway, talking about people with power. He said there's two types of people that get like absolute power, get into these power situations. He says they either use it to protect people or they use it to abuse and manipulate people. And that really resonated with me, because I thought this is the Superman thing. I can do whatever I want. I choose to find this pure moral true north compass setting. And for me, that's always the compelling aspect to any Superman movie. And to me, it was kind of lost in the Zack Snyder version, not completely. And I thought Henry Cavill was a decent enough Superman himself. But the tone that Zack Snyder brought was, to me, the antithesis of what Superman is meant to be. And so James Gunn's Superman gets into my top 10 just for reestablishing what Superman should be.
Fabulous. Yeah, no, I, again, thought it was great. Didn't quite make my list. My number 8, I have Ryan Coogler's Sinners.
Oh, yeah. Mine's a little bit higher up the chart.
All right. Back to you then.
Yeah. My number 7 is technically, I found out, from 2024, but it only had its release everywhere and was basically seen in 2025. And so it threw me off when I didn't see it in my Letterboxd 2025. And sure enough, there's a technicality. It's a 2024 film, but it's Mike Flanagan's Life of Chuck.
Okay, yes. Okay, yeah, so to clarify, it had its world premiere at the Toronto Film Festival in 2024, and that's it. It got bought by Neon, and they very deliberately sat on it for about 6 months. So it's either. It's entirely up to you.
Yeah. I wanted to recognize this film because I enjoyed it so much. I love Mike Flanagan's work. You and I have reviewed much of his work and very positively in the past. Him taking this Stephen King novella about how a single life, even in the midst of tragedy, just radiates in so many other areas, and having a mom who's passed away this year and seeing the impact of a life. This film it is my feel-good film of the year. When Tom Hiddleston just starts dancing with this... Did I say Tim?
You did.
When Tom Hiddleston just starts dancing with this stranger, and there's so much life, and there's so much reason why we have these connections with other people. And I just thought Mike Flanagan, just again, taking from the source material from Stephen King, showing how no one does this by themselves. We all need each other. And that's what makes life beautiful. Life of Chuck, top 10 of the year. I don't care if it's 2024, technically. It's in my 2025 best of.
I mean, I saw it this year as well. I saw it not that long ago, during award season, I think. I've got to be honest, I didn't love it as much as some other people did. I wouldn't go quite so far as to say it left me cold, but I had heard that it was kind of like this, it's a Stephen King adaptation, but it's not a horror one, it's one of the other ones a bit more like sort of Shawshank or something like that. But other than that, I didn't really know anything about it. And while I really do appreciate sort of its intentions, and I appreciate sort of the style in which it's being told, that it leans heavily on the narration to kind of guide you through, the sort of the life of this one person. And I really appreciate all the messaging. I think that just something about the execution just left me a little bit disconnected from it, which kind of frustrated me as well about myself. I was like, why aren't I responding to this more? Because I am a sucker for sentimentality normally. There's another movie this year that did the exact same thing, but I'm not going to say what it is because I have a feeling it might show up later. And I watched
I can guess what it is, I think, but
go. What do you think it is?
Hamnet.
Okay, no, it's not Hamnet. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, so we'll get on to that if it shows up. If it doesn't, and I remember, I will say what it is because it might bug people if I don't name it at all.
Fair enough.
So I thought it was fine, but unfortunately, not more than that.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I think this is our first sort of legitimate disagreement.
Yeah. You're number 7.
Okay, so my number 7. This is crazy. I saw this yesterday, and it's the benefit of last minute cramming, and I came away from it. Well, I watched it at home because it's screener season, so I had it at home, and it's a shame actually because I think it would have really benefited from being seen with an audience. And I looked, and currently it hasn't played anywhere in Asia at all. This is a movie called The Testament of Anne Lee, starring Amanda Seyfried, and that's why I watched it, because she is nominated for Best Actress, and I think it's got a song nomination. So it's directed and written by Mona Fastvold, who is Brady Corbet's partner.
Okay.
And so who's the writer-director of The Brutalist, which obviously did very well last year and was one of my favorite films of last year. And so this is like her movie. And while on the surface, it's a very, very different movie. It's about you might know this story. I didn't really know. It's about the Quakers who came over from Manchester, from England, in the 1770s, right before the war, and had this very extreme, marginalized version of Quakerism that was nicknamed Shakerism because Anne Lee, who was kind of like the pioneer and almost like godhead figure of it, matriarch of it, it's all expression through physical gesticulation, screaming and reverberation, all the rest of it. And one of the key tenets of it is abstinence, which kind of sort of it makes you immediately wonder, well, how is this going to progress? How are they going to build a community if you have to give up all kind of sins of the flesh, if you like, even for the sake of procreation. So it's not a musical. However, Daniel Blumberg, who did the score, did he win an Oscar for the score? I think he won an Oscar for the score of the Brutalist. I want to say, does the score, but they also take lots of sort of traditional songs. They're not quite hymns, and they put them to music, and so characters do break out into song.
Okay.
Frequently throughout the film, during their dance sequences, but also during the sort of moments of emotion. But I would stop short of calling it a musical. It's not quite that entrenched in the format. That said, it's a beautifully shot story. It's incredibly well staged. Amanda Seyfried is excellent, even if her Mancunian accent does wobble a little bit, as does her Lewis Pullman's, who plays her brother. But I'll forgive them that because it's one of those big swing movies. It's incredibly bold. It's incredibly brave. It's incredibly theatrical at times. But then the photography is gorgeous. But like The Brutalist, it's a story about immigrants. Coming to America at a tumultuous time, with a vision and an ambition to build something, to create something, to put their mark on society, only to be, met with opposition at almost every turn. So thematically, it's got a lot in common with The Brutalist. but the execution could not be more different. And it's one of those movies that's probably it's going to really divide people. I think outside of festivals, not that many people have seen it yet. But I think,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I really want you to see it. You know, and if I had seen it earlier, I might have sort of told you. But I literally watched it yesterday afternoon. And I just sat back and was like, "Holy shit! Is it just me, or is this movie just great?" You know, I think it's going to divide people because I think it is such a big swing stylistically. It's so specific and so odd that I think there are going to be people who step away from it and just be like, "That is not for me." Yeah, this is. I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on here. I don't really like what's going on here. It caught me on a good day. I really responded to it. But what I found interesting is it is less. I suppose it does obviously tackle issues of faith and things like that as well, but it's more just about having a specific vision and doing sacrificing everything for the sake of your purpose, of your vision, regardless of how bizarre and outlandish it might sound. So yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. It had been sitting on my list. He's like, I'll get to it. And it was due diligence more than anything that I put it on yesterday. And it just blew me away. I was just like, whoa,
Oh, wow.
that's nuts.
I've got nothing to add to it because I didn't even know of it, let alone
Yeah.
didn't see it.
Hopefully, yeah, it will get some distribution, or at the very least, it'll play at like the Hong Kong Film Festival in March, and I will certainly let you know because I would love to go see it on the big screen, and I would love us to talk about it in more detail later down the road. But that is my number 7, The Testament of Anne Lee.
Excellent. Excellent. My number 6 is a documentary. It is Orwell, 2 + 2 = 5. I watched the neon screener of this and I was blown away. What they do with this documentary, taking initially a little mini biography of George Orwell, which I didn't know. I didn't know he went and served in the colonial office in Burma, how much it affected him, of the guilt. He comes back after 5 years and realizes he's feeling guilty because he's participated in beatings of locals, of interrogations, things that he started to realize so much of the oppression around us is systemic and people buy into this. And so the rest of the documentary is basically his writings, his essays, taking narration readings from 1984 and from Animal Farm and superimposing it over events today. And you just realize, oh my gosh, it's the same shit over and over and over and over again. And although it can be depressing to think we can't break these cycles, like this keeps happening to the human race over and over and over again, there's this optimism that comes through that more and more people are starting to become awake. Oh, hey, did I say woke? Like woke, awake to these areas. But I'm going through this thing right now, just watching anything that highlights injustice and speaking out, and just there's so much craziness in the world that this documentary just really hit the sweet spot at just the right time for me. I'm so glad I watched it because I'm going through the screeners and going, well, this looks interesting, a documentary on Orwell, and it's called 2 + 2 = 5. And that's what he says at one point. He says, bombs and big planes and military, that's scary. But when they can start, when governments and powers that be start to be able to tell you that 2 + 2 = 5 and start changing the way you see reality, is far scarier. And so that's why this movie is on my top 10.
I'm so glad you watched it. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic as well. It's the highest ranked documentary that I saw this year.
Yeah.
It just missed out. I think maybe Testament of Anne Lee actually kind of just nudged it out of my top 10 yesterday. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It's directed by Raoul Peck, who did I Am Not Your Negro and Silver Dollar Road, which are both films I've seen as well. But this is very different. Like you said, yeah, it's about Orwell, specifically about as his health was failing while he was writing and trying to get 1984 published. But just the way that it I was going to say juxtaposed, but it's the opposite of juxtaposing. Just the way that it aligns, all the themes of that book, and yeah, Animal Farm as well, with just what has been going on in the world up to the present day. Yeah, in almost every nation, just the emergence of authoritarianism and totalitarianism, or the persistence of it. Yeah, how Trump can just get in front of a camera and just lie bald-faced. How Putin can do the same and just lie bald-faced to the public. And there are members of the public. There are those who just ignore it and don't do anything about it, and there are others who just believe him, even though it makes not a lick of sense. And I thought it was all just put together in an incredibly sort of digestible way that just helps you. It proves incredibly sort of engaging and impactful all at the same time, while being sort of terrifying simultaneously, because he just saw all of this coming, or recognized the fact that it was all around him already. And just best part of 100 years later, because 1984 was published in 48, which is why it's called 1984. They just flipped the last two numbers around, so it's been sort of 80 years, and it's arguably just as bad as ever. But absolutely phenomenal documentary, just missed out on my top 10, but it's well worth checking out as soon as anyone gets the opportunity.
Good. Your number 6.
Okay, so my number 6 is the other movie I saw at Busan that went straight to like the top of my list. Definitely of films I saw at Busan, if not best of the year. And that and House of Dynamite kind of just jostled for position ever since. And this is the Brazilian movie, The Secret Agent. Directed by Kleber Mendonça Filho. I hope I haven't butchered that completely. But probably will be most recognizable because it's starring Wagner Moura, that people will know from Narcos. He was in the movie Civil War as well. He's an actor of increasing prominence, but particularly in Hollywood, and he's looking pretty good for a Best Actor nomination, which would obviously be a nice big step for him, because it did win Best Actor at Cannes. I think it won 2 prizes. I think it won maybe Best Director as well, or it won the Grand Prix, because I know at Cannes you can't win the Palme d'Or and something else, but you can win like any 2 other prizes. And I think it won, I want to say, Best Director and Best Actor. It's set in Brazil, and it's as much a mood piece as it is, a propulsive thriller, because it's not a propulsive thriller. I came into this kind of, and it wasn't what I thought it was. I came into this and I was like, oh, okay,
and
great.
There is no secret agent, really.
Not really. No, I came into this thinking, okay, great. A 160-minute, sort of spy thriller kind of thing, starring Wagner Moura. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I remember I watched it. I dragged myself out of bed fairly early one morning after quite a long night the night before to watch it. I was like, this is going to be great. And it totally was, but it's far more of a kind of a mood piece and an examination of Brazil at a time when it's reeling from sort of civil war and all the rest of it. I'm not hugely up on my Brazilian politics and history. It doesn't matter. All you need to know is that it's got kind of like a sort of a military dictatorship going on, something that Orwell would be able to relate to. And at the center, you've got this guy, with a sort of a shady past, who is maneuvering through the country, and they're kind of helping people, sort of refugees and political prisoners. It's a bit like the landscape in One Battle After Another, almost.
Yeah.
Where there's this kind of underground railway going on, and he sort of moves from one area to the next. I mean, it opens with this sort of bravura sequence of slow burn tension at a deserted sort of gas station in the middle of nowhere. It reminded me.
There's that body sitting right under the cardboard.
He pulls up at this gas station, and there's just a sort of a dead body lying there, covered with a piece of cardboard. And it reminded me of sort of the opening of Inglourious Bastards, when at the farm, or the beginning of Once Upon a Time in the West at the train station, where they're just waiting for the train. Just these sequences where almost like not a lot is happening, but just slowly, incrementally over the space of about sort of 20 minutes, you're just suddenly sort of almost pulling your teeth out with tension. So it's absolutely fantastic. And and there's this whole subplot underneath about a leg. There's a leg is found in a shark that is being dissected at the university, and it attracts the attention of the police for reasons that slowly become apparent. And then there's a bizarre kind of sort of mythology that builds around the leg that makes it into sort of the newspapers. And apparently this is, inspired by true events as well. So it's kind of weird and wacky and wonderful in its own way. But it's just one of those movies that is so much about a specific period of time and a specific place. And yet the center of it, you've got this incredibly sort of charismatic performance, which is really understated. And he's not a man of action. That's why the title is so misleading. And yet he really holds your attention. It's quite a sort of magnetic performance, and you're just following him through this incredibly tumultuous situation. And he's almost like a beacon of calm throughout it. Yeah. And it's wonderful. I keep meaning to watch it again, actually. It's really quite something. It's such a bold and confident piece of filmmaking about something so sort of alien to me, and to make something like that that's so specific but yet so accessible is no mean feat. And I was really impressed.
Well, I watched it 2 days ago with Tammy. It made my honorable mentions. It's in my top 15. I loved this film. The mood, that establishment scene at the beginning, those kind of scenes can be superfluous if not done well. Like, it could just drag a film into, oh my gosh, how much longer is this film going to be? But the pacing and the tone that is set in that film, I think we got midway through when Tammy said to me, she goes, the acting in this is really good. and it was, everybody in this film just is such an interesting character to watch, whether they're one of the good guys or one of the bad guys. Everyone is interesting in this film. And so, although it didn't make my top 10, I enjoyed this so much, and it is definitely in my honorable mentions. All right. Number 5.
We're in top 5. We're in top 5.
We're in the top 5 now, and now we can do Sinners. Number 5 for me is Sinners. Yeah. Ryan Coogler, just what he does in this film, integrating racial tensions, horror, music. I mean, we've done a whole review of this where we kind of unpack the different elements. And so I'm not going to do it all here, but the way he balances those elements makes a vampiric white class that is antagonizing this black establishment that is just trying to live. That's all they're trying to do, is live and enjoy life and try to make each day count in some way. And just the allegories in this film and how Coogler intertwines it with that American music of the Deep South in a particular time period is just fascinating. I've seen it twice, and I haven't seen it in a while now, and it's due for a third watch. But this is another one it premiered earlier in the year, and it has stayed in my top 10 the whole year. And so when I was trying to where am I putting this? I put it right in the middle, number 5.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, likewise, when I saw this back in April, I saw it in Brussels, actually, I remember, because I was over there for a festival at the time, and a couple of us snuck across the street from the festival to the big IMAX where they were showing it, and we went and watched it there, and it was just like, whoa, this is something else, just from a technical standpoint. The photography was superb, the score is so
music is so good.
It's so immersive, and it draws from all of these different sort of types of sort of Afro-Caribbean American music legacies, and then you've got this film which the naysayers have basically sort of said, oh, this is just From Dusk Till Dawn with black people in it, and it's like, well, idiots, if that's where you're at with it. And you can see what they mean, and you're like, well, okay, it is about vampires attacking a nightclub essentially, and that's where the similarities end. But it's so rich in themes, vampirism as cultural appropriation and all sorts. As you said, we've done a whole video on it, but again, as soon as I saw this, it went straight in as number 1. And it sat as my number one movie for a very long time. I think it was not until Weapons that it got challenged for that. And then since then, it's been sort of shuffled around, but it has never dropped out of my top 10.
No.
Likewise, I saw it a couple of times in the cinema. I have the 4K disc sitting on my shelf that I bought immediately, but I haven't got around to watching it. So yeah, it's absolutely due a rewatch, and looks like it's going to do pretty well, come award season as well. I'm not sure what it's going to win. Possibly something like original screenplay is probably its best bet. But it's going to perform, I think. It's going to feature in a lot of major categories. And for, let's be honest, what is essentially a gangster/vampire movie, that's great news for genre fans.
Your number 5.
Okay, my number 5 is Joachim Trier's Sentimental Value.
Whoa. Put a pause there. Mine's a little bit higher up the charts there.
Alrighty.
My number 4 is another documentary. And confession, I'm not even done watching this film yet. It is, yes. I saw this. Okay, yes. Oh, first of all, I'll say it is a documentary. It's My Undesirable Friends, Last Air in Moscow. It's a documentary about the journalists in the months leading up to the Ukrainian invasion by Putin. And this was put on my radar just a few days ago. I think I messaged you.
You did.
Because I get the New York Times, and they had a couple of their critics saying their top 10 for 2025. And I was curious how many of mine matched. And when I saw this film, I had never even heard of it before. And as I started to look it up, they were just singing its praises. It's a 6-hour movie. It's not quite 6 hours. I'm like 3 hours into this film. And I can't stop watching it. I mean, I was watching it this morning and really broke it just to do this recording. But it is so good 3 hours in. I'm going to put it in my top 10 because I can see where it's even going to land. But again,
it's a movie, right? It's not like a mini series or something.
No. It is a single movie.
Wow.
And it is a documentary about these journalists who they were on cable, and then they got removed from cable. They weren't allowed to be on cable anymore, so they could be on the internet, and then they get removed from the internet, and how they get labeled foreign agents. But what's wonderful about this film is you would think for a 5.5-hour documentary, you're going to get bored. But you get to be a fly on the wall in the living rooms of these journalists as they're making cakes for one another, and they're talking about being labeled foreign agents, and they're joking with one another. But then they get really serious about how much they love their country and why they're so angry at what they're seeing happen in Russia. And as they're watching this noose, and this is why I want to get back to it, is I'm 3 hours in, and the noose just continues to tighten around this group. And they're realizing we're going to have to immigrate. We're going to have to leave Russia. But they don't want to leave Russia. They love Russia. They want to be part of a Russia that is flourishing, that has rule of law, that has justice. And they're just seeing the disintegration of it. And just watching this, it's compelling. It is really interesting. It is what journalists, these are true journalists. They love being journalists. Some of them are very seasoned professionals, like in their 50s. Others are like young girls in their 20s, but they have such passion for what they want to see in their society. And one's talking about, if I immigrate, I don't know if I'll ever see my mother again, because my mom lives here, but I'm going to have to. She goes, I'm thinking I want to hold out till spring. This is December 2021. We know what's going to come with the Ukrainian invasion. They're starting to sense it, but at one point she says, I'm not even expecting people to do strong R resistance, just small R. Like, just admit that it's like, the lies they're telling you, just don't sit there and go, oh, yeah, that's true. Like, you're watching, it's almost the Orwellian thing. It's just easier to just go along and stay out of trouble. But the problem is that noose just keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter. It goes back to the old adage, first they came for this group, then they came for this group, and then they came for this group.
And I did nothing.
And so, but who's willing to jeopardize the cushy platform they're on when even at one point they're saying, the reality is a lot of people in the city are not oppressed. They can get by on their day to day. They can And so watching this new form of totalitarianism and authoritarianism and how it's operating in Russia specifically, and then, looking at it around the world, it's just a fascinating watch. And even though I'm only 3 hours into it, as I said, I'm going to finish the other three over the next day or so. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this lands, because it's just, it's thrilling to watch.
Wow. Yeah, no, this one wasn't really on my radar. It was, you asked me about it the other day and I was like, I'm not sure what that is. And I looked it up, and yeah, it had been in the running for the documentary awards that I'm supposed to vote in, which I didn't vote in because I didn't have time to watch anything. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to vote for like the one thing that I saw. I'm going to just pass that time. And yeah, that was one of the prominent ones. It sounds absolutely fantastic. I didn't realize it was actually, a single piece rather than sort of 6-hour-long episodes or something. So
yeah, I mean, it's intimidating to sit down and watch a documentary that long, and they easily could have gone a different route and just edited this down to 2 hours. But there's something about being in these apartments with these people, and even they'll do like 5 minutes or something on something that's just about their life. But you get to be part of these people's lives. There's something that is compelling about the filmmaking decision that the filmmaker made in this. Like, I'm not going to just tell all the bad journalistic things that are happening. I'm going to show these are real people with real lives, with real relationships, and how they're being affected as this noose tightens. And so, yeah, and I think knowing that the invasion is coming, what's going to happen in Putin's Russia, it's almost a sense of foreboding, because they keep wondering what's going to happen next. And we as the viewer kind of know what happens next.
Right. Yeah, no, it's that thing of like specificity breeds accessibility. It's like, if they just went, oh, journalists are being persecuted, you can quite easily sit back and go, oh, well, I'm not a journalist. It doesn't well, it's not going to affect me. But as you go into the minutiae of their daily lives, you're like, oh, well, yes, they're a journalist, but they're also a person, and they also sort of live like this. And you can see the overlaps just in behavior and just in day to day. Whatever, and that's where you get your emotional inroad from. Yeah,
they start joking because they get all labeled foreign agents, and as foreign agents, anything they do, any social media they do, any Instagram, any TikTok, any journalism they do, has to have this pre-thing message that the following is being brought to you by a foreign agent who may have intentions, blah, 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 blah.
Wow.
And so they're joking about, like, they'll put up an Instagram photo of a birthday cake, and then they have to insert that this birthday cake is the result of a foreign agent. And they'll all joke, oh, you're a foreign agent, I'm a foreign agent. And one girl's saying, my mom's saying, I'm not going to be able to find a husband because they're going to be scared off because I'm a foreign agent. And they're not, and they turn it around. They're saying the funny thing is, they label us foreign agents. We're the ones who actually care about this country. It's all these guys and Putin's buddies and these oligarchs that have their villas and these resorts all over the world that have these that don't really care about destroying this country. Somehow they're the patriots, and we, the ones who really want to see Russia flourish, are labeled the foreign agitators.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's terrifying. Sounds absolutely fascinating. I'll have to make time for it. What's that? Your number 4?
That was my number 4, yeah.
Okay, so my number 4 is the Chinese movie Resurrection by a filmmaker called Bi Gan. So this is one of those incredibly sort of ambitious, big swing, kind of sort of arty, avant-garde kind of movies. It comes in at about 2.5 hours long, and ostensibly it's a science fiction movie, or essentially the premise is rooted in science fiction, where humanity has released its ability to dream in favor of basically living forever. So they've traded their dreams for the ability to live forever. So they can live, but they can no longer dream. And without it explaining itself too much, you have Shu Qi, the actress Shu Qi, who plays somebody who is in that world, and she finds a guy who is kind of like a mutant. He's kind of like a monster. He's called a deliriant. He's one of those people one of the few remaining survivors who can dream. And so basically what she does in the opening sort of scene is that she kind of isolates him and transports him through time, if you like. And so the film then jumps to 100 years ago. So at the opening, it's hard to describe, but basically she transports him back 100 years ago, and then you see 6 different sort of chapters of his life as it works its way back towards the end of the 20th century. And in each chapter is filmed in a different cinematic style. So the first chapter is in a kind of German silent expressionist kind of style, similar to something sort of like Murnau or Testament of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari or something like that. And then it jumps forward to kind of like the 40s, and it's almost like a Cloak and Dagger spy movie where the same character continues to exist but is caught up, embroiled in a sort of spy situation. And then it jumps to kind of the Cultural Revolution period, and he sort of teams up with a young girl, and to become sort of, they're beggars on the street, but they become sort of con artists, and so it slowly makes its way towards not exactly the present, but the end of the 20th century. And I'm not going to pretend that I understood everything that was going on. It was definitely one of those movies that was an experience. I'd seen his previous movies, and similarly, they were as interested with the cinematic art form itself than with telling stories or narrative structure or whatever. And it gets to this final sort of almost hour-long single take. The last chapter is shot in a single take. It's an hour before dawn, and he's running around the streets, and he gets embroiled with characters that may or may not be vampires and may or may not be gangsters. And there's a whole scene where he stumbles into like a karaoke lounge. They do an entire karaoke song. It doesn't, with no edits, no breaks or anything. And then he kind of moves on. But it's just this bizarre kind of examination, not only of the history of cinema, not only the history of China, but also just testing the limits of what a movie can be in really weird ways. And I thought this could be absolutely interminable and unwatchable. And some people have found it to be that, because I knew what I was kind of getting in for, and I really liked his last film, which was called A Long Dark Journey into Night, or A Long Cold Journey into Night, which I thought was fabulous from a couple of years ago. The message seems to be, obviously you've got these, everybody has like given up their ability to dream, and the message of the movie seems to be highlighting the importance of documenting history and experience and storytelling, or risk it be erased or just forgotten about. And you can, I think, project that message onto a number of different regimes, shall we say, or countries. So it is a kind of about the eradication of history, or but people are choosing just a better life and willing to forget all the horrors that have happened, if you like. They don't. And they're willing to relinquish dreams of a better life in order just to experience what they have for longer. So it's kind of about a trade-off with consumerism and capitalism and all the rest of it, if you want to read that into it. And I think he wants us to. So it's an odd one, and it's definitely not for everybody. But I just really appreciate, as you know, when a movie takes a big swing and I get something out of it. And I felt that this one really succeeded. As I said, each chapter has a very different vibe to it, a very different feel. It evokes sort of spy movies of the 40s. It evokes kind of like these the movies of the 90s that we saw that are talking about the Cultural Revolution. Obviously, there's a period of it that's all set in like the 1960s. And then it has this very technically audacious final hour, as it were. And I just came out going, you know what? I'm nervous about the day that I have to actually try and explain this movie to anybody. but
you did a good job. You did it.
But I really enjoyed I really enjoyed what I saw, and that's what cinema can be. And that's it doesn't have to be about a very tightly written story. It can be, and but a lot of people will say it should be, but it doesn't always have to be. It's kind of what we were talking about earlier about the fashion world. Sometimes you can just make a big, bold, beautiful, utterly ridiculous ball gown that no one will ever be able to actually wear to an event. But on the catwalk, it looks absolutely fantastic. Just don't ask me to wash it for you.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's and this was one of those movies, and I really appreciated it for what it was doing. It's something
excellent.
Special.
Excellent. My number three, we can finally talk about sentimental value, was my number three.
Fabulous. Okay.
Yeah, this film I just watched this week. I'd been meaning to watch it for a while. And I knew I was going to like it because the director, is it?
I think it's Joachim
Trier did The Worst Person in the World about 3 years ago, and I loved that film. I think that film was in my top 10. I'm really enjoying this man's filmmaking. I love the stories that he tells. I love how he tells them. There's so many there's such nuanced texture of relationships and family and regret and redemption found in this movie. There's nostalgia. It's kind of hard to be part of a family, having been part of a family, and maybe it's because my mom passing away a week ago, and watching this film right now. You just are reminded, don't sweat the small crap in relationships. Don't let the human foibles destroy relationships. Because there's a number of times when, Stellan Skarsgård in this film playing the father is not always a great guy. He puts his career first at times, but you never feel for a minute he's a bad father. He doesn't love his daughters. He doesn't care. And so it'd been easy to just make him either this distant father who just puts his career first, or the family man. But Trier he doesn't allow us to fall into those binaries. People are complicated. People are nuanced. There's layers. Nobody's all good or all bad. And so watching this film, you just realizing, you know what? Yeah, I do some crappy things at times, but I'm not a bad guy. I do good things at times. And watching this film, it's like watching real people in a real life. And that's why it really resonated with me. And anyhow, those are my initial thoughts.
No, that's fabulous. I mean, you're literally saying sort of all the things that I wanted to say about it. It is about sort of the nuances of relationship. It is about, I mean, he is a selfish guy who puts his career first, but that doesn't mean that he's, that he deserves to be completely kind of cut off. That doesn't mean that he's not a father and not capable of being a good father. He has chosen work over parenting responsibilities more often than perhaps he should have. But should that, it raises the question, should that mean he's never allowed the opportunity to be a father? The daughters are very, hard-nosed about literally pushing him away when he tries to come back and things like that. And the film does a wonderful job of examining those multifaceted relationships, which are difficult. I mean, as it did with Worst Person in the World. I mean, as I think we said in our review of that, which is up here somewhere, is the title is only somewhat ironic. She is terrible, but she is also incredibly seductive and intoxicating, and deserves the opportunity to be a better person and will grow because she's just young and impulsive. Here, it's about an older character, seeking the same kind of redemption, or asking for that kind of redemption, or from his adult children, who are kind of like, well, you weren't around when I needed you, so why should I be around for you now, kind of thing. But
I love how the house too is kind of looks like the constant in the film. It's like these relationships are spiraling in these. Sometimes they're warm, sometimes they're cold. Offenses are made, hugs are made, and in the midst of this is this house that remains through generations. And I just love the use of the house as a tool in the storytelling in this film.
And that has this great sort of symbolic crack all the way down it. The house is broken. The family is broken, and yet it's their family, it's their home. This is the epicenter of everything. And yes, it's broken, but it's still beautiful and it's still warm. It can still be a framework for all of them to hang on. And I thought it was great, and how it deals with filmmaking, how it plays with the form. There are certain scenes in the movie where you're like, wait, is this the movie? Or is this the movie in the movie? What is this? Is this real? This moment or not? And I thought it did a fabulous job, which is compounded by him using the house as the location for the film that he insists is not about his mother, but is obviously very much about his mother. And I thought Elle Fanning does a great job as well. You know,
she did a really good job. Yeah,
the interloper, if you like, who is brought in to play the part that was clearly his daughter was supposed to play, and she, you know, completely Hollywoodizes it. And I love, you know, how she portrays that kind of actress character. I thought the whole thing just worked fabulously. It's another one that I'd kind of put off watching it a little bit, because I was like, yeah, it's going to be like a heavy family drama, you know. Okay, one of those Nordic family. It's going to be kind of Bergman-esque or something. I'll get to it. And then as soon as I got to it, I was like, this is fantastic. Why did I put this off for so long?
Yeah, because Trier always injects humor into it as well. I mean, there's some legitimately funny moments in this. You know, when he does the whole story about his mother committing suicide in this room, and this is the stool that she used, and then later on, it's like, oh, he just led her down this rabbit hole with a stool from IKEA. You know, it's
IKEA. It's great. It's great, but just another. I mean, it's a great joke, you know, that just works just as a joke, but it's also a great character moment where it shows how he's all about tell the story, you know. He's all about, you know, tell a great story. It doesn't matter if it's true or not, you know.
Yeah, it's
print the legend, as they say. You know?
Excellent movie. Excellent film.
Brilliant movie.
Okay, you're number 3.
Okay, so we're really starting to sort of split hairs. I mean, all of these are wonderful. I will sort of slightly spoil this by sort of saying this is the highest ranked Asian movie on my list. This really knocked my socks off, which is quite often the way. It's more often than not, it's the movies I go into with no expectation whatsoever. And I'm just like, okay, I just gotta see this movie, that end up really kind of blowing me away. This is the Japanese movie Kokuho, from the director Lee Sang-il, who is kind of ethnically Korean but Japanese filmmaker. This might be on people's radar because Tom Cruise has recently been hosting screenings of it around sort of LA and what have you. This is the film that he's decided sort of to champion this award season. I guess more than anything else because it's got Ken Watanabe in it, and he worked with Ken Watanabe on Last Samurai like 20 odd years ago. And if it's not on your radar, just look for Ken Watanabe's new movie. This is set in the world of kabuki theater, which is, you know, incredibly ornate silk kind of kimonos, multi-layered sort of white makeup, and highly affected performances and song. There are sort of male actors who specifically play female characters. And this is the story of two such characters, the son and the adopted son of a family. There's the main character. He's the son of a yakuza who, when he's a young boy, his family is wiped out in front of, coincidentally, this elder statesman of kabuki theater, who immediately sort of adopts the kid, who's like 10 or 11 years old, and he has a son the same age, and he's like, oh, he must come into my home, and I will train him up to be a kabuki performer. And so you've got the son and the adopted son who grew up together, and they become sort of brothers, best friends, but arch rivals as well as their careers blossom. A lot of the performances they have to perform together. But they both have this very specific role where they are the men playing female roles. But nevertheless, it's incredibly sort of masculine, highly competitive. It could be like a sports drama in many, many ways, but it is also just so incredibly beautiful. It has a number of, obviously, kabuki performances throughout the film, and some of them are just sort of transcendental. I had very little real exposure to kabuki theater. I only know it when it's kind of referenced in movies, and it's like, oh yeah, the costumes in this movie are kabuki inspired, and the sets in this movie. But I hadn't really ever watched any real kabuki theater. But in this movie, you get exposed to sort of like full sort of 5-10 minute sequences of actual performances. And this movie has some of the most emotionally thrilling costume changes I have ever seen in a movie ever. There are moments where you're on the edge of your seat. Will this kimono unfurl the way it's supposed to at the given moment in order to have and you're literally gripping the handrests of your seat, and that doesn't happen normally. So when that happens in a movie, you got to sort of sit up and take notice. it's the thing that people might be trepidatious about the fact it's a long movie. It's about 3 hours long, and it's adapted from a 2-volume novel that came out about sort of 10 years ago. It has been breaking all kinds of records in Japan at the box office. It is now the all-time biggest non-anime Japanese movie at the Japanese box office. There have been a number of animes over the years, like Demon Slayer and what have you, that just go nuts. This is the biggest of all time there, and they've put it forward for the Oscars, and it would be fabulous to see it go, because I think it's not only the best Japanese movie of the year, but it's the best Asian movie of the year. It's called Kokuho, which translates as National Treasure or something like that. And it's absolutely fabulous.
Fantastic. I'm going to have to see that. That looks quite good. My number 2. We're down to the final 2 now.
Alrighty.
And drum roll. This occupied number 1 for the longest time, and it still might be number 1, but it's number 2 just because of the mood I'm in right now. And it's One Battle After Another.
Okay, well, spoilers. Hold that thought.
Ooh, it's your number 1. What's your number 2?
So my number 2 is a movie that it popped up late in the season, and it hasn't played in a lot of places yet. It's playing in the States right now. I think it opened at Christmas. But other than that, it's going to unfurl in the coming months. And I was like, okay, yeah. There's always one of these sort of awards movies that shows up, and but yeah, as is the thing, I got the screener for it, and I sat down, and I swear to God, within 5 seconds, I was like, oh, this is going to be good, isn't it? And then as the minutes went by, I was like, oh shit, this is going to be really good. And
you got me on the edge of my seat now. I want to know what this film is.
And that is Josh Safdie's Marty Supreme, starring Timothy Chalamet and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Where did you get a copy? Because I've been looking all over for this thing. This is
the Critics' Choice Association sent me screeners. So it's on our screener site, and it's fabulous. So it's set in 1950s New York, and it's about this guy called Marty. What's his real name? It's Marty Mauser, who is a table tennis player, but he wants to be the best table tennis player in the world. He wants to be not only US number 1, but he wants to be world number 1. And so it's all about him, but he's broke, and he's young, and he's cocky, and he's arrogant, but he's obviously a damn good ping pong player. So it's about his attempts to become world number 1. So it's got elements of something like The Color of Money in there. Mm-hmm. It's made by one half of the Safdie brothers, who made Uncut Gems, with Adam Sandler, and it's fueled by that same sense of sort of arrogance, ambition, tension. It's at times a very uncomfortable watch. I remember when I watched Uncut Gems, I described it as it's like a 2-hour heart attack. It's just so aggressively sort of antagonistic to its audience. It just makes you so uncomfortable. And there's a lot of that in Marty Supreme.
Yeah,
it's basically about what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to do? When you have nothing, when you're just a grifter and you've got the gift of the gab, you have a raw talent, but how do you hone it? But how far are you willing to go to pursue your dream? And it does an incredibly good job of it, and it's also got a sort of a wonderful period setting. The performances are superb. Timothy Chalamet, I know some people have started to kind of turn on him a little bit. I've always thought he was good. I think this might be the best thing he's ever done. From a performance point of view, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he actually does pick up an Oscar for this finally. Gwyneth Paltrow is great. It's also got some really bizarre cameos from people like Abel Ferrara and Penn Jillette and people like that in it, which you're kind of like, is that who I think it is?
Interesting.
I know that some people are upset that Kevin O'Leary is in it. I don't quite understand why. I think maybe his politics aren't great or something like that.
Who's Kevin O'Leary?
Well, exactly. Good question. Who is Kevin O'Leary? He's a Canadian businessman, author, and television personality. And he plays a very pivotal role. He essentially is kind of playing a version of himself, I think. But some people have been like, it's got Kevin O'Leary in it. And I was like, I don't really know who that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but you hear often that there's no movie stars anymore. That, the Tom Cruises, the Julia Roberts, the George Clooney's, they're all in their 60s, 50s and 60s, and have been making movies for 30, 40 years. And of the younger generation, there's nobody that can really open a film. They're all superhero. The roles tend to be bigger than the people.
Right.
Everything you and I have heard. And I thought, when I saw Timothy Chalamet, I thought, he may be a true movie star. I mean, when I look at the body of work that he's done over the last few years, the different genres he's done and done very successfully, he's been able to navigate a career that you just have to doff your cap to and think, this guy is well on his way to becoming a true movie star. Because I can't think of the last time. Like, I watched G.A. Kelly the other day because George Clooney's in it. I want to see a George Clooney movie. He can open. I'll go see a movie because George Clooney is starring in it. But I'd be pressed to find somebody who's under 40 that I would go see a movie just because they're starring in it. And Timothy Chalamet is one that comes to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie really does. Like I said, the Color of Money comparison isn't really just because of the sort of the hustler plot nature of it. I think he's got that kind of young Tom Cruise kind of work rate, versatility. He seems like he's choosing projects based on who's making them rather than how much he's going to get paid or how many people are going to see them. The fact that he's making small movies like this and probably by putting his name to it is getting it made. Yes, he'll go do Dune, but Dune is very different from a Marvel movie.
Right.
Yes, it's a sci-fi property with a big cast and all the rest of it. It's a blockbuster, but it's a very specific, very niche, very sort of artistically driven one.
Right.
Compared to like an action movie or a rom-com or a Marvel movie. So I think at this point, I agree with everything that you're saying, that he is on that kind of trajectory to be a proper movie star. He's showing, real range at a young age. He just turned 30, I think, this week. And that he's putting together performances, just a filmography of performances already that are all so strong and so different. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, he could be around for a very, very long time. And this, a complete unknown last year where he played Dylan. It was very good at being Dylan. I didn't really like the movie that much. This is both. It's a great performance. He's not. I think the key to like a great performance, or one of the keys, is he's a pretty unlikable character, but you're kind of rooting for him nonetheless. And I think that is a real telltale of just an actor doing his doing great work, and just the film itself is captivating. As soon as this is available to see in the cinema here, I will shoot out and watch it straight away because it's got. The other thing I will say about it, which again is one of the reasons why I realized, oh wow, this is going to work so quickly, is that it's a movie set in the 50s, but all of the songs on the soundtrack are from the 80s. And they're all like big 80s anthems. It's got Alphaville on there. It's got like Simple Minds on there, or Tears for Fears, and stuff like that on there. Like Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It's those kind of 80s movies. Forever Young by Alphaville. I can't remember the song that's at the beginning, but it's and you're like, this should not work at all. What are you doing here? It's such a bold stylistic decision, but they totally work, and that's all credit to Josh Safdie. His direction is absolutely phenomenal.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing it. Why don't we go right into your number one, since it's my number two?
Sure. Okay. Well, one battle after another. It's Paul Thomas Anderson directing. Thinly adapting Thomas Pynchon, and it's DiCaprio, it's Benicio del Toro, Sean Penn, it's the amazingly named Chase Infinity, and this was just one of those movies that, as soon as you watch it, you're just like, oh yeah, well, that's the best movie I'm going to see this year. And Marty Supreme is the only other movie that's really kind of grabbed me by the collar and gone, are you sure? Really, it's like, are you sure? I mean, it's just everything that I want from a movie. It's it's a bold cinematic experience. It's characters that I really enjoy. It's a story that you can really get immersed in. The cinematography is great. I love this return to kind of VistaVision and 60 70 millimeter and all of that, and the editing in it, how propulsive the narrative is. I love seeing DiCaprio continue to show his range. I mean, he's really funny in this movie.
Yeah. This movie is really almost a comedy. I laughed so hard at some of the scenes in it are just Benicio del Toro's character just had me, like I said, he's my favorite character. I don't know if he's going to get a nomination for Best Supporting Actor, but I want him to get a nomination just because to me, he deserves it. He is the true constant in this film. He is the calming influence. And that scene when he just calmly walks through that whole establishment, goes in, flips the door down, and it's like, oh God, this is just perfect. I love this film.
Yeah, and as DiCaprio is freaking out, he's just like, hey, this way. Bill, or whatever his name is, Bob. He's like, this way. Come on, this way. And they've knocked out this entire building. Actually, I mean, I came out going, oh, wow, Sean Penn is amazing in this. But, and Benicio del Toro is great. But early indications are looking like people are latching on, and actually Benicio del Toro is getting some recognition already. And that could do very, very well going forward because everybody loves him and he's been around forever. Similarly, Tiana Taylor as kind of like the mother. I mean, it's one of those great supporting performances where she's in and out in like half an hour of the movie, but her sort of memory or the footprint that she leaves, like as chaotic and cataclysmic as it is, she comes in, she destroys everybody's world and then leaves. But at the same time, you're like transfixed and completely won over by her. You're like, she's a horrible, horrible person, but incredibly beautiful and seductive and dangerous as hell. And you're just kind of like, oh, she would destroy me in a second. If our lives ever crossed, she would forget me in an instant, and I would. The rest of my life would be ruined. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just that kind of person.
As Leo DiCaprio's life is. I mean, he's totally left holding the. Yeah, he's totally left holding the bag.
Yeah, holding the baby, quite literally. I mean, she sweeps through the world. Everybody whose life she touches is irrevocably changed and arguably ruined because of her, and she leaves it all in her wake. Leaves it all for dust, and you're just kind of like, whoa. That's a performance, that's a character, that's a performance, and it's superb. It's and I know it's getting to that time of year where it seems to be the movie to beat, with early awards and whatever, and I hope people don't start tiring of it, because people like it all to be exciting, and there to be some surprises and a bit of unpredictability in award season, but certainly in my mind, I was like, it's the best movie of the year, and Paul Thomas Anderson's fantastic, and he deserves his flowers, and I cannot think of a better opportunity to give him. He's been nominated for about 11 Oscars and never won.
Yeah, and it's one of these, I think I said in our initial review, not every one of his films has landed with me. He is an acquired taste. Wonderful filmmaker. I mean, I could never, but not every film has really resonated with me the way this one does. And I think I said in our initial review, the first 20 minutes of it, I hated. I'm like,
that's right.
The girl, I was like, it's like, oh man, this is just the whole Sean Penn thing with her. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is just, and then when it shifts to the future and I saw it in the broader context, I was like, this is brilliant. Yeah. This is so, and that final scene when they're filming going down the road and they're going up and over it is so on the edge of your seat, and you don't know what's going to happen with Leo and the daughter, has she gone completely wacko, or is she, there's just so many ways this film could have gone, and Paul Thomas Anderson just seemed to make, every time there was a choice to be made, he made the right one in my view. And so this easily should have been maybe my number one. Number one. Yeah.
Now I am gripped. What is it? What beat this out?
Again, but it is Wake Up Dead Men. Rian Johnson's number 3, Knives Out. I so love this film. it resonated with me. The dialogues between Daniel Craig and Josh O'Connor about faith and secularism and the impact of faith and the stories we tell. I just rewatched it for the second time last night with my son, and I'm just again bowled over by how good Josh O'Connor is in this role, to the point where he makes Daniel Craig almost the supporting character in his own franchise.
Yeah.
That's how powerful and well written this character is. The cast is fabulous. Josh Brolin. I love this movie so much. I had to make it my number one. I'm not saying it's a better film than One Battle After Another, but it impacted me, and I've been sitting with it, and it's something I will rewatch again over the years.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense when you say it, because I think both of us did respond so strongly and so positively to it that I feel kind of bad, like leaving it out. It's on my long list. I'm staring at it right now, and sometimes I will muscle out like a sort of the popular movie in order to put in something that I want to champion that might not have whatever. But it is great, and it is a movie that has inspired so much conversation and so much thought and debate just between us, but also recommending it to other people. It really it really works. I completely understand why you've put it at number one, and we've done a whole video on how much we like it and why we like it so much.
I've had no less than, I'm not exaggerating, no less than 5 people message me over the last week or so, thanking me for promoting this film and saying, watching it now, this is so good. Got one even last night while we were watching it. A friend just said, watching that Wake Up Dead Man movie that you were recommending, loving it, and so it's nice to be a catalyst for a really good project like this was. So
absolutely, yeah. I even got my parents to watch it, and both of them together.
Wow,
sitting down watching it. That doesn't happen very much either. So that's great. Just before I forget, because we have now got to the end, and none of us mentioned it, is the movie that Life of Chuck reminded me of Life of Chuck when I watched it was Train Dreams.
Oh yes, yeah.
It just takes a very similar approach to that kind of sort of narrative storytelling, where it's got a very involved voiceover telling the story of, and it's a similar theme. It's about sort of just an ordinary person, one small person in the entire world. I thought that was the slightly better movie. I know some people absolutely love that movie, and it's got a lot of nominations and awards attention already from people. For me, it's the better one. It's the better version of the Life of Chuck story, I think, and as much to do with the setting and the photography, all that sort of magic hour for cinematography and all the rest of it all looks gorgeous.
See, you juxtaposed it with Life of Chuck's. I juxtaposed it with Jay Kelly, which I thought I saw Train Dreams as being the Wichita Lineman version of Jay Kelly. One is this guy's life from a celebrity perspective and the ups and downs and relationship issues. And Train Dreams is the average everyday man working the railroads in the late 1800s. I enjoyed both of those films. Jay Kelly actually made my honorable mention. And I would put Train Dreams, if I had a top 20, would be in my top 20. I'm surprised Begonia didn't figure in for you.
It's in my top 20. Okay, should we just say what else is in our...
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so my sort of next 10, and I wouldn't pay too much attention to the order here. I've got Left-Handed Girl. It was just an accident. Sirat, Weapons, The World of Love, so more Asian movies. Orwell 2.2 plus equals 5, Wake Up Dead Man, The Ballad of Wallace Island, which I thought was a great comedy.
Good. I love that movie. It'd be in my top 20.
Mag, which is a deranged Japanese movie, which I was kind of flirting with putting in, and then Begonia. Okay. And then I've actually got 23 on this list, so it's also Superman, The Ugly Stepsister, and New Group, which is another Japanese movie.
I only went up I went up to my top 15. I've already mentioned No Other Choice, which is there, The Secret Agent, which is there. Jay Kelly is in my top 15, Begonia, and Hamnet in my top 15.
You see, as we've mentioned them. Okay, Jay Kelly, I think of those 3 movies, Life of Chuck, Train Dreams, and Jay Kelly, Jay Kelly is the one I like the least. I think Jay Kelly falls into that trap that some Hollywood movies fall into, some movies about Hollywood fall into, where, as I said to someone I was talking to about it, it's really in love with the smell of its own farts.
Yes, it is.
They're like, oh, isn't the magic of Hollywood just the greatest thing ever? And it's too whimsical for me. It invests too much in sort of the magic. It allows the magic of cinema and of movie making and of Tinseltown to bleed into its real story way too much. I love Adam Sandler, particularly when Adam Sandler is not doing goofy Adam Sandler stuff. And the fact that he might be getting finally an Oscar nomination for his supporting actor for Jay Kelly is great. And for that, I'm willing to kind of sort of champion him in it, because I don't really like a lot of his comedy stuff, but I really like him. And I think I like him in this movie. I think Uncut Gems should have got him an Oscar nomination, but didn't. But if he gets one for this, I could not be more happy for him. Yeah, and it'll be the George Clooney bump that's done it, because I think George Clooney has given this a level of exposure and kudos and what have you. But I found that this movie was just it was just fine, and there were moments in it that are great. You know, that moment with Billy Crudup in the bar at the beginning, when Crudup's doing his kind of like, oh yeah, I can show you the real acting kind of bit is amazing, and there are scenes in it like that. They're amazing, but for every moment like that, there's a moment like on the fucking train. You know, when Jay Kelly's talking to all like the normal people on the train, and I hate that because it's just so cheesy and contrived. It's like the scene in Darkest Hour with Gary Oldman when he's on the tube and starts talking
as soon as
to
you
the
said
ordinary
that,
people.
That's immediately where my mind went.
Yes, and it's just awful. It's so what's the word I'm looking for? Contrived is the
contrived
word,
yeah, a little bit saccharine, a little bit so well, we could go on and on about this. I think we have a pretty long episode, which I have to edit now. So any final words about 2025?
There's still 3 days to go. Well, it's the 29th. Today's the 29th, so I don't anticipate seeing any more big 2025 movies in the next 2 days. I've seen Avatar, which obviously is Hong Kong's the one place that Avatar hasn't opened yet because of
I have no desire to see that. Even when it had the name Fire and Ash, I just thought, oh god, all these fantasies always got to be snow and ice, or it's always some elemental element. As soon as I saw Avatar Fire and Ash, I thought, forget it, I'm tapping out. No more Avatar, please, James Cameron.
The next one's going to be like gas and mud or something like that.
That's it, gas and mud. It'll be ice and, last one was water. This is fire. There's got to do some ice and snow or something.
Sure. If he's going to do more, although it looks like it's more than washed its face. It's made like 600 million already in like a week. So
yeah, it's.
I went to see it. I went to China. I went to see it. I've done a video on it. Have a look. I had some thoughts. Yeah,
please do. There's Marsh attacks.
Absolutely, which is just one of the other sort of playlists on this channel that we're doing, just to let me vent about stuff that Steve very wisely doesn't have time for. But how does this compare to your top 10? What have we missed out? What have we overpraised? What have we underpraised? Let us know in the comments, as much so that we can check them out if we haven't, as
Absolutely.
much as disagree with you. But in the meantime, I think Happy New Year for 2026 by the time you watch this, probably.
Yep. Happy New Year, guys. See you in 2026.
You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit you would be. Your voice